Hi everyone, it's Ali and thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to show you how I made this gorgeous Mama Elephant card today with dotted colouring of the dragons and an Aurora galaxy background. Now the first thing I wanted to show you was a new silicone mat that I had got. I checked out the latest mat from Waffle and the price point was a little high for me, so I did a bit of investigating and watched a few YouTube videos and some ideas from other people. I found this silicone pet feeding mat at Australian Kmart and it was $5. I actually bought two of them just in case, a pink one and a grey one. So $5 is an absolute bargain. It does not have the shiny background, so it will sit on my glass media mat and it does move slightly. I don't think it grips as well as the Waffle Flower one would, but it's pretty good. And it grips the paper quite well on the front as well, so I'm thrilled with it. I also picked up these OXX cosmetic brushes from Kmart too, which are very similar to the Life-Saving blending brushes. So I'm going to start with Mermaid Lagoon and I'm going to make my Aurora colours for my galaxy background, and I'm just kind of getting quite a bit of ink on my smallest brush. I got a set of 5 of these cosmetic brushes and I think they're about $12 Australian, so I thought that was pretty good because they were there and I could get them straight away and I didn't have to wait a couple of weeks for things to arrive in the post as they do to Australia. Now I'm just cleaning off by rubbing it on a paper towel, so that seems to be enough, and you just keep rubbing until it's clean and there's no more ink coming off the brush. So now I'm going to go in with cracked pistachio, and I sort of made my lines a bit wiggly because I know the Aurora sort of lights are a bit like that. I haven't been able to get the sort of the brushed look inside the lights, but I'm thinking maybe you could get it with a toothbrush or something similar right at the end if you wanted to get that real look of rays coming across. But I was quite happy with this in the end, so I didn't worry about doing that, but I may try that next time. So now this is the wilted violet and I'm just going in with a bit of that alongside the cracked pistachio, and you will notice that it really looks a bit of a mess right up until the very end, and that's always how galaxy backgrounds look. So if you think, if you get halfway through a galaxy background and you think, oh my goodness, it looks not so great, don't worry, keep going because they actually get better and better as you go. This is black soot, so I'm going to use the medium-sized brush to layer the black soot on. And you can see the paper's gripping quite well to that silicone mat. I'm only using one of my tips of my fingers to hold it still, and it's generally not moving around too much at all. And the ink pads stay in place too, whereas before I was having to hold the ink pad and then hold the paper. So I'm really quite thrilled with this silicone mat, and you can see there it's got a little edge around it as well, so obviously your water and your inks, if you're using those on your ink pad, they don't run off. So that was Blueprint Sketch. I just went over the black soot with that, and now I'm just going again with Wilted Violet to brighten up those Aurora colours a little bit. So I'm just going over them again with my smallest brush, and then a little bit more with the Mermaid Lagoon and the cracked pistachio as well. Now back in again with the black soot, just sort of over the top and on the edges to make the edges a little bit darker. And then I've got some white gesso, which is just white acrylic paint. I've put that on an acrylic block and I'm flicking that off with a sort of a stiff paintbrush and just covering it in some splatters of white paint. The other bonus about the mat is that it's heat resistant, so I can just use my heat gun straight onto it. It's fabulous. I'm really loving it, and the bonus is that it was $5, so I just can't get over that, so really happy. Now I'm splattering it with some plain water, and sometimes I use a paper towel just to dab off any extra water. And that is pretty much it, just giving another blast with the heat tool, and you can see it's not until right at the end that it sort of really comes together, and even as it dries off a little bit it tends to blend together a bit and change. So that is how I do my Aurora galaxy backgrounds. Now I'm going to show you how I do my moons. I'm using a bit of antique linen distress ink and a bit of the hickory smoke distress oxide ink. I don't think it really matters whether you use oxide or normal distress ink, and a bit of water sprayed onto my mat as well. And then I just go in and dab the grey or the hickory smoke in little dabs with my paintbrush in splotches to make it look moon-like, I guess, for the shadows on the moon. And I don't really have any rhyme or reason doing this, I just do it randomly. Then I add water if it's too dark, and I try and blend that down a little bit if it's looking too stark, the edges of that grey. Now I'm going in with a bit of the antique linen, and I find that yellowish tone just makes the moon look a little bit more like it's glowing, and I just put that around the edges and a little bit through the middle of the grey areas as well. So I just go ahead and keep going like that. Use my water if it's again too dark, and darken up patches that are too light, and just go back and forward like that. So you can see the mat's great. I can spray straight onto it and put my ink straight onto it. And I've also tried some ink smooshing, and that's fabulous as well. So loving it. Spraying it with a bit more water just to mute the colours, and dabbing it off with my paper towel. So that is how I do most of my moons that you will see in my cards, and that is watercolour paper that I've used, a circle of watercolour paper that I've cut out with a die. Now I'm going to show you how I dot colour the me and my dragon images. And I've got all of my Copics listed there on screen, and I have also done this with some purples and sort of teal greens as well, and it looks really good. So I just start off with my darkest C5, and you can see there I had a bit of a boo-boo and my C5 blotched all over my dragon, but I just went in with my C0 and tried to blend that out a little bit, and I knew he was basically going to be grey in the background anyway. So to fix that with your Copics, just open both ends of your pen like I had there, and just it allows the pressure to equalise in the pen. Now I'm going in with my C1 over the top of those little dots where I'd put the C5, and I just go back and forward like this with my greys. I mostly use the C greys, I guess. I have got the W greys as well, but for this one the C greys went better with those other colours. Now this is in real time. This is me showing you how quickly I actually do the dots in real time, because most of the video is double time, so it's a bit tricky to see how I actually do it. So again, just going in with the C1 and back in with the C3 and C5 and so on, just going lighter and darker. Now I'm adding my mid-colour blue in some little patches. Again, I didn't really know where I was going to put this blue. I just put it in odd spots around the dragon here and there until it looked about right. This is my darkest blue, just going in with tiny little dots on top of that mid-blue colour. I didn't want too much of the dark blue, and I did have to blend this down a little bit because I think I did add a bit too much at the beginning. That's my mid-blue again, and I've been in with my lightest blue as well, so I'm just going over the top of those patches with tiny little dots again. Now I'm going in with my violets and adding a little bit of that purple, same way, just kind of here and there, adding bits of purple, then going in with my darkest purple, lightest purple, mid-purple, and so on. You always want to try and keep your dots fairly small. You don't want it to make it look like it's completely blended. Then back in with greys again, just to blend out the patches in between the colour. Just keeping in mind that the bits in the shadows will be the darker C5 and then the C3 and then the C1 in the lighter patches again. So I'm just covering him gradually with my cool greys and filling in as I go. Once done, I grabbed my white gel pen. I use a Signo gel pen, and I'm just putting little dots on. And I will, this was inspired by a couple of dragons that I saw, and I will reference where I got the inspiration from that dot colouring down below the video. Now I'm just adhering those on. I've done a little bit of dark green card for the ground along the bottom, and I've used a stitch rectangle to cut out my galaxy background, and then I'm just adhering on my moon like so, and then my little dragon, which I coloured in the same way as my big dragon. Then I stamped out one of the sentiments from the Dragon Wishes set on black card and white embossed it, just to add onto the front. And I also put my galaxy background on a craft card base, like so. So I hope that inspires you to give some of these techniques a go, and that they're not quite as sort of scary as they seem. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you again next time.